Hi guys, happy Saturday. Thanks for joining me on Talent Talk. I'm your guest host, Chingaze. So this season 4, the Quattro, all the episodes are available wherever you find podcasts. You know where those are. And they're in their entirety, so that's cool. Nothing cut out. Like this awkwardness? Anyway, if you can, please like and subscribe. It helps us getting lovely, lovely guests. Speaking of lovely guests, today we have Mr. Nick Bohle. He is a musician, a actor, a producer, filmmaker. I'm just going to call him an artist. That feels right. An artist slash Renaissance man slash a man who owns too many hats. Maybe he wears too many hats. We should find out. Anyway, also, this is a live show, so you can ask questions and we will try and get to them. So without further ado, please help me welcome Mr. Nick Bohle. Where's that fellow? Hey, buddy.
Hey.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you, man?
I'm okay. Did you just tip your hat to me?
I did. It's become
awesome.
It's become a thing now.
Part of your It's part of your thing. I don't know why I didn't mention this like the few seconds we have before the show starts, but I'm like, you're gonna need a bigger frame to get all that hat into it. It's just it's too much.
I love it.
We're gonna have to figure out later why you cover up that hair, because I've seen some shots and you also have too much hair.
It's still there.
You got some great hair, man. I wouldn't cover it. I don't cover this up. I have like 1/10 of your hair. I don't cover this up with hats. Like I'm
a period piece. Into your face, and I was like, yeah, don't do that. It's great.
Can you cover your face with a hat? Maybe that's a topic for a different show. Oh, suddenly we're in a Western.
Yeah, that's how you do it.
Yeah. I remember I had an argument once with a filmmaker, and they put me in a hat. I was in a bar with some period piece, and I'm like, please don't put me in the hat. But he was such a smart filmmaker. I love directors who are so intelligent. He's like, look, you don't want to be bothered in this bar. You're in the corner. You don't want to be bothered. I'm like, you smarty pants. So I have to wear the damn hat.
Yeah, it's either like a way to block people, or it's like a satellite to like attract people, because they flip it up and they're like, whoa.
It's a catch-all. It's your own bounce. It just like shines light.
Yeah, there we go. Okay. I got a flag wherever I need it.
Very nice. So, man, I honestly do not know where you've got a creature walking behind you. Are you aware of that?
I do. Yeah, that was my cat, Loda.
Oh, okay. Lola?
Lota.
Oh, Lota. Okay, what the hell does that mean? Lota. Where does that come from?
I honestly don't know. She's just a troublemaker, and her other name's Mouse, because that's what she used to respond to, because we'd play with a little toy mouse with her, right? And so her name became Mouse. She kind of responds better to that.
Okay.
Yeah, she's getting up there.
Sorry. Nice.
She's getting up there. She's a little old now.
Well, she's up there now. She's gonna. We're gonna have to get our producer Gary to maybe get her to sign something.
Okay.
Anyway, yeah. So I'm not gonna bring the show down, but we've misplaced our cat like 2 months ago. So like I've been to every person's house in an inquisitive fashion. But anyway, I'm sure he'll come back. What? I don't want to stick on the name Lota too much, but our Hindi customers, is that my heart? I think my pacemaker just went off.
No, apparently I'm getting some email notifications. I'm sorry about that.
Buddy, well, you know what? Yesterday when we locked you down for sort of a pre-interview, you were between, some would say betwixt, I don't know what, man. What's the word? Not interviews. That's what we're doing. What's that?
Yeah, I had a meeting. I had a coaching session with an actor, Eureka Aragon from Edmonton, who just attended a workshop that I put up here in Lethbridge. And it was a coaching call just to help her out with a film she's been cast in. She's got a great role. So I was just giving her some pointers on bringing some Meisner exercises to her and her partners so that they could connect when they're on set and make the most of their time together. So that was one meeting I had. Another meeting I had was with a marketer that I work with for, we're putting together branding for a bison and bison meat and bone and leather and like production brand. So
Okay.
we're working on that together, and I had a meeting about that. And then in the evening, I had a meeting with the Lethbridge Independent Film Society, which I'm the vice president of, and we had Ed Limone from Winged Whale Media, who's moved here from Toronto, and he's branching his production company in Lethbridge because he saw value down here. And it was a great meeting, and he brought some really exciting news to the table. So yeah, we're looking forward to the path ahead, and Ed's hopefully going to be a big part of that. He's working with the city of Lethbridge to bring television and film productions to the city. So, and that's been a goal of ours, mine, the film societies, and many other people down here for a long time. So it's good to see it materializing now. It's great.
Well, that's very cool. We look forward to hearing about all of that and maybe sharing in a bit of that wealth too. Is the Lethbridge Society of Independent Filmmakers sort of like the sister of like the Calgary CSIF? Are you guys?
Yeah. So with Calgary,
Alberta linked?
Yeah, we're kind of in the network with FAVA and CSIF and the Lethbridge Independent Film Society. We work with AMAS. Even our president is on the board, Danielle Wintrip. She's on the board of directors for IMA and for AMAS, so the Independent Media Arts Alliance of Canada, and also the Alberta Media Arts Alliance Society, and also the board of the Lethbridge Independent Film Society. So she's working closely with many organizations to, bring film festivals and curate those and make sure that they're hitting the right markers when it comes to inclusion and diversity and all that stuff. So,
oh well, that's why I'm here. The diversity thing. You've seen Gary. He's 3 shades lighter.
Yeah.
Now, I like when you did.
I'm thinking I'm even lighter than.
You're just on this side of him, and then it's him.
Yeah, I'm like this kind of this table.
It must be easy to white balance when you're filming things, but no.
Yeah.
I like when you did the map of Canada. You went Canada's like this, so then I figured out where Calgary was, and it was sort of near the end of your medallion. That was,
yeah, that's pretty
perfect.
I
just sort of figured that. Yeah, it's cool. now, man. Again, thank you for joining us because, like, you seem incredibly busy, and just so you're aware, I don't care for people like that. Like people who are organized and doing things. It's not my favorite. You know what I mean? It's too much.
Okay, I get it. It's too much for me sometimes too. Like I want to leave, but it's too busy. So
just give yourself a day. Have a bathtub, listen to some Blue Blay. I don't know, just whatever relaxes you.
Yeah, that would calm me down for sure. Feeling good.
Absolutely. So anyway, but things I do want to talk about in whatever order you want to say it is obviously we need to talk about producing a comedy special. Yeah. That's one of the things, and the doc, which I didn't realize was like about art. I didn't realize it was in the art world.
Yeah.
And I also want to talk about the graphic novel, but we do that later. So because I'm a total nerd. Can you right there? I finally learned backwards how things work by pointing. That's for Star Wars. That's a Marvel Treasury Edition, kids. It's that big. It's massive. Wow. Hard to get bags for those things. It doesn't matter. But yeah, what about the comedy special, man? You're producing. How do you get involved with it? Like,
yeah. So it's a kind of a fairly long story, but I'll try and render it down. So the comedy
special. You start. I'll come back.
Sure. Okay. Cool. See you. The comedy special is for a comedian from Lethbridge named Faris Hatia. He's one of the owners of Good Times Lethbridge Comedy Club, and he became a friend over the last few years when we started working together on another short film for an Alberta creator named Gianna Isabella called Open Mic at the Comedy Cabaret. It was a 10 or 11 minute short that I did sound design for and did a little cameo appearance in, and the bartender at the club for taking in people was Faris, and he did a really great job. It was his first time on camera, and so we got to talking about maybe working together one day, and then I think it was a few months later, Story Hive came out with their Black Creators Edition, their first ever Black Creators Edition. And Forrest
And they went right to you? They went right to you?
No,
They're
no,
like,
I'm just
"Nick,
like,
Nick."
because I'm on the Story Hive, I guess, alumni, and I'm part of the website, registered on the
Yeah,
website. I get notifications about the editions that come out. And so I let Forrest know about it. And he was like, oh, that's pretty cool. Yeah, let's try it. And so I helped him put together a pitch, and it, it went, and we ended up getting the funding. And so we've been writing alongside some great comics that have joined the team. And Connor Christmas is another guy that joined the team. He's a comedian in Calgary. He's actually down here in Lethbridge this weekend. Doing
sorry to interrupt. It's what I do. One, we've got a question. I'm not going to it now, but Connor, I got to work with him on something, and it's premiering tonight. I guess he's not shown up. We know he's not showing up. So let me throw this up here for a second. We're getting Sierra. Sierra, what was your favorite part of creating the comedy special? Sierra, thank you so much for a question. I'm ignoring that right now. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, what was your favorite part of creating that thing? I've actually already forgotten the question.
My favorite part of creating the comedy special. So I love creating pretty much anything with the focus, like my kind of mission as an artist is to, and you'll see this on my website and on my cards and stuff, is to heal through the stories that I live and tell. And so when I'm working with, creators who, like the first ever Black Creators Edition, I'm well aware of the fact that I'm not Black, but I'm trying to give voice and opportunity to the other people in our community who are trying to develop themselves as creators. And so we've brought on, people like BIPOC from across the board onto the project. And it's been really educational from a point of view from a white standpoint, to be able to work with and learn about the impressions and the struggles and the senses that people of color have towards the community. So that's been a really good, experience for me to learn about. And then creating content that helps tell that story. The comedy special that we have, the first 3.5 minutes of it, there's no words spoken because it's an intro piece, and there's different scenes happening, but there's so much said because of social norms that we all understand, and because of the way that the eye lines are going and everything. It's really cool the way that, and it's comedic, but there's nothing said at the start. It's really interesting. So putting together the intro has been really fun, and then the narrative portions, just for me as a filmmaker and a narrative, I love narrative filmmaking, has been really cool, because there's these jokes that we lead into the comedy with, there's these narrative scenes that we lead into the stand-up with. So there'll be a scene, and then in the next portion of comedy, we get a joke that makes that whole scene make sense, and it tells the story more. So the people who saw the show in the club have a completely different experience than the people that are seeing it at home, which is something that Forrest was really intentional about creating for people. So that's been an interesting journey too, and I really enjoyed that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think you nailed that question, and thanks, Sierra. So let me see. Comedy special. So where do you know where we'll be able to watch this thing, or when? What's the date on that sucker?
So it's releasing in, I believe, the early part of 2023. Don't hold me to that. Our delivery is mid-December. So
it is a story. Is it a Story Hive thing? You'd be able to watch it right on Telus. Right?
Yeah, so you'll be able to watch it on Telus Optic in 2023, and YouTube from their Story Hive channels as well. Right. And the nice thing about it is we have a lot of additional jokes and content that didn't go into the Story Hive piece. Right. That we have ideas to expand, to make director's cuts, and possibly move towards getting it on additional networks or streamers or things like that. So We do hope to
Okay.
push it further,
Okay.
but that's something that we'll see in time.
And you're sort of allowed to do that, even though it sort of came from a Story Hive thing. They are the umbrella that it's under. They're
Right.
the finance people. You're allowed to just go like, oh, okay, well, we also.
Yeah, so
There's no problem.
so they put in, and this is, I mean, I believe I've read this again in the most recent releases, but even when we did our, I've done music videos and short films and stuff before too, but you're allowed, they have first release, as far as I'm aware, is that Story Hive has first release, and they also they want to see additional cuts to make sure that, their name isn't being conflicted with their codes and policies and all that kind of
Sure.
stuff. So as long as it aligns with that, I believe it can still be done. And you'll see this too with things like Abracadavers that came out of the Story Hive world, and they've gone on to make multiple seasons now. So it can happen. For sure, it can happen. It's just a matter of making content that people want to see and that's relevant and that, that ticks the right boxes at the right time for the right network. And so there's a lot that goes into producing these things and trying to hit the right market. But we're really liking where it's going, and we think the quality's there. The image quality is really nice, and it's coming together really nicely. So,
did you also shoot that thing? I know. Are you editing it, and did you shoot it?
Yeah, so I shot it along with a couple other people. So the comedy, the stand-up bits, there was 3 cameras in the room. So we had Alex Robinson, we've had Justin Godlian. Those guys are from Calgary. Myself, I shot as well. And then during the narrative sections, just because we were writing, like Forrest and Connor and myself, and even our production designer, Erica Barr, had input into, some of the script elements. We were all writing together, so we understood like what the images we wanted were exactly. And when you're working on Story Hive stuff, there's it's limited funding. It's great to get a grant and everything, but it is you're always trying to save as much as you can. So yeah, Forrest was a big part of producing all of it, and a huge in writing all of it. All the jokes obviously were his and inspiration, or were written alongside other BIPOC and all comedians that worked on the project. There's multiple that you'll see in the credits. I don't want to list all of them now because I'll forget somebody and feel terrible. But
no, don't worry about it, man. Okay.
But yeah, and then we went across 2 different clubs in Lethbridge with the shoot. We're going to see how it all cuts together. So yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting to have a project that's going to be about 40 to 45 minutes when it's all said and done. It's a nice journey. It's a good length, and yeah, we're pretty excited about it.
Sweet. Well, growing up, I never knew that they would shoot those things over different nights or different audiences or whatnot. So I can't remember if it was Raw or Delirious. Like I grew up, in the '80s. So Eddie Murphy's thing, and they're like, "This is a 2-hour comedy special." Did he all? And it was like, "Yeah, man, it's bits here, it's bits there." They just put it together, and you just kind of enjoyed it.
Yeah.
So what about the doc, man? What did you do on the doc?
Yeah, so the doc actually hasn't been shot yet. It's a funny story how it all started. I went to Calgary International Film Festival last year with the open mic at the Comedy Cabaret film, where I met Forrest and got to know him a little better. And so it's all like woven together. It's crazy. But so I was there, and it was the cocktail happy hour in the Apic Art Gallery in Eau Claire Market. And it was for industry people to go and network, and you could get a cider or, a beer or some wine and go peruse the gallery and network, right?
No, I remember you ignoring me that night. Yeah, okay. Just continue. Sorry, please.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
All right, 10 days. I didn't see you.
Go ahead, man.
Anyway, so yeah, I was just looking around. I only had 15 minutes, and I was going to see a film called Drinkwater, which, if you get a chance to see it, highly recommend. Beautiful film. Beautifully done, and it was shot in Penticton, I believe, which is really neat. But anyways, so I was going to that movie, but 15 minutes before, I go to this happy hour, and I'm perusing the gallery, got a drink, And I was looking around for a little bit. I didn't want to commit to too many conversations, so I said hi to some people and then kind of like left gently. And I was about to leave the gallery, and I saw that there was a raffle on this table. So I filled out my name. I was like, sure, industry people, I'll fill it out, email, whatever. And just as I'm finishing, this woman walks over to me. Her name's Catherine Lakeman, and she's a painter at the gallery. And she's like, hi, struck up a conversation with me, and we got into it. And I was like, I gotta. But anyway, she hooked me into a conversation, and then she asked me if I'd seen her art, which was at the back of the gallery where I hadn't been. And she's like, oh, you got to go check it out. I'll get you another drink. Go see. And we'll just 5 minutes. And so I did. And she's got these beautiful expressionist paintings that were inspired, some of them by improvisations with drummers and other musicians, where the paint strokes are the sounds that she's hearing, and she's moving to the beat, and that's what becomes the painting and the color. And it's really neat. And they turned out beautifully. And so I was very interested in that. And we started talking about Kandinsky and painters like from the past. And we were like, wow, we got a lot to talk about. We should have a coffee or something. I'm here for a few days. So we made a date to have coffee like a day or two later. And I went to the film. And just as I was about to walk out of the frame of the door at the gallery, they were calling my name and trying to say my last name. They couldn't say it. Everybody's like, how do you Bohle? So I was like, it's Bohle? And they were like, yeah, Bohle. And I was like, that's me. So I walk back over and they're like, you won the third door prize. And I was like, great. And I walk over and it's Catherine Lakeman holding the painting that I. And
That's
so it's just
lovely, man.
Wildly synchronous thing that happened. And so we were like, well, we got to meet now. And we ended up, meeting a couple of days later and having coffee and talking about, the idea of working together and making a film that was about a drummer and a painter initially, who would improvise off each other and capturing that kind of inspirational energy that's moving between those artists, right? And then over time, it escalated. It became a contemporary dancer was added, and our drummer actually decided to leave. And then we brought on Marc Dejean, who's like an amazing saxophonist, saxophonist. I don't think it's sax. From Calgary, and he's worked with like the Symphony and the Jubilee and like Sarah Slean, like some Canadian like big heavy hitter musicians. And he's a really great guy. And then the contemporary dancer is, why am I forgetting her name right now? Just a sec, it'll come to me. Jocelyn Ma. And she teaches dance in Calgary, and it's come from the Calgary contemporary dance world. I don't want to say what school because I can't remember right now. But she's a gifted interpretive contemporary dancer. And so we've got this documentary that we're shooting in the community room in Eau Claire Market in early November. And we're capturing with multiple cameras the energy that's flowing between these artists. And then afterwards, we'll be interviewing the artists to discuss where that happened for them. And the concept for the three installments that we're going to do 3 improvisations based on love, war, and peace, and try and create some magic, some inspirational magic together. So, we hope to submit it to film festivals, and Catherine's well connected to the art community, and a lot of us have gone through post-secondary like schools and universities that we hope to share this type of a film with like art academies and stuff to show that ether in action. So
very cool.
Or if you go to my like Instagram account or my link tree in my bio on my Instagram, which is just Nick_Bohle. There's a little bit more information there, and we have a GoFundMe too. If you're feeling generous, you can go and donate.
Well, now that you've called me out on live TV, Nick, I guess I'm going to have to. That's a smart move, man. That's a producer's move right there. I dig I don't dig saxophone music, but that's just myself, because I was bullied a lot in the 80s, and that's when I think saxophones were at their peak. You know, you couldn't
Right.
walk down a street without hearing some guy leaning out a window yelling at you. Anyway, so I was just thinking, you cut out the middleman. You get Catherine to paint the dancer, and you just get her rolling around, and you capture that, and that becomes the painting.
I think you're onto something.
These ideas are free. I'm not saying they're good, but they didn't cost a thing. Okay, well, very cool, man. So how long are you going to be shooting that for? Do you already know? Like,
it's just it'll be probably 2 days in total, but just the one day we have set aside for the the performative side of it right now. So it'll be a full day of doing those performances.
Yeah. Okay, awesome. Now, can I ask how you got involved with the graphic novel, doing music for a graphic novel?
Yeah. So
were you involved in the graphic novel previous at all, or did you come on as a?
No, actually,
because there's like artist, inker, there's letterer, musician. Like it's just, it's just in there, right?
Yeah. So this is a great platform that I'm going to recommend to people, but I was on voices.com, which is for sound engineers. It's kind of like Fiverr or one of those like freelancer finding kind of platforms, aggregators, I guess. And it's for people that do voice acting and people that produce like audio, sound production, Foley, all the sound worlds kind of stuff. And I had I just found it one day through, I think it was on Clubhouse. I was on a Clubhouse like community meetup, and someone mentioned it, and I was like, oh, that sounds interesting. I went there. You can set up a free profile. I put up a composition that I'd made about Hannibal's crossing of the Alps and the elephants that all died. It's called The Elephant's Climb. It's very epic, like symphonic composition. And I just put it up there as my only thing on there. And maybe a year later, this guy named Chris Sider from Florida found me, and he's like, man, I love this composition. Can we talk about you composing? And I was like, okay, we could talk. And then he told me about what his plan was. And he has this like 500-page novel that he's been writing. It's beautiful, epic, gorgeous fantasy, like period, kind of two periods woven together. It's really cool. I don't want to give too much away because it's still early, but it's beautiful. And he told me all about what he wants to do. And we're going to be releasing the first 100 pages as a graphic novel tableau with music and narration and everything and character voices on YouTube, I think in 2023, late 2023.
Okay.
And yeah, he brought me on and we started talking, and then I made him an example composition of like an intro. He wanted to hear some kind of like, epic Game of Thrones, Westworldy kind of composition. And so I made one and sent it to him. And he's like, I love this. This is amazing. And then we kind of solidified our relationship and, signed some papers and whatnot. And so now I have the task of composing these 100 pages, which is about 25 scenes or chapters, and usually works out to be about 3 or 4 movements at least per scene. So there's about 100 compositions that are there that are going to be delivered within the next year and a half. And
wow.
They range from like full symphonic, like epic, giant, huge compositions where there's, 70 to 80 instruments, more 90 sometimes, to like just bass, tonal compositions with like inflections and whatnot in them. And I have a kind of a hybrid synthetic and symphonic style with a lot of the stuff that I do. I still use classic instruments like piano and cello and violin and violas and all that whole gamut of string instruments and French horns and these things. But I also use some pretty heavy duty synthesizers and tonal generators and, all kinds of stuff, through alchemy to contact to, ethereal dreams and stuff for native instruments usually. So yeah, so I've been happy to be composing like regularly again. It's been a lot of fun.
I'm glad you think it's fun because it does seem like a monumental challenge, man. It's just,
Those are the
200
kinds
pages,
I'm into.
I guess. Cool. I do. Do you know that they say they're going to release the thing on YouTube, right?
Yeah.
Do you think it's going to be like what do they call it? Oh, motion graphic comic. I think that's where the pictures kind of
Yeah. So
pop in, pop out, and stuff.
yeah, exactly. The early examples that I've seen, like it's an image, but then there's like little embers floating and like it's panning a bit and like weapons and stuff, or,
Right,
different
right.
things are gently moving.
Yeah.
The illustrations are, they're really nice and
Mhm.
impressionistic. Again, I don't want to give too much away. They're very cool kind of animation. It's unique. I haven't seen it before. So
Oh, sweet.
um,
Well, I think you've already given away too much, and I read your contract, brother, and that's actually what this is not live. This
yeah,
whole show will catch you giving away a state secret, and you did it.
right.
Uh, motion,
That's,
motion graphics. Oh man, you really stepped on it there. Uh, I was I got a few kind of questions I ask actors, and I talked to a lot of actors who use music to kind of get into character and also separate characters. Sometimes, you're working on a couple different projects, they overlap.
mhm.
I was wondered how that would with a straight up musician. Uh, I can hear some knocking around out there, but I know our cat is probably in Edmonton, so that's not what that is. Anyway, that's what we call a sad callback. It's just a sad callback. So what? So yeah, is it any different with a musician? What do you sort of use to kind of get in there?
Yeah, I was like, I was talking to Eureka the other day or yesterday about this on our
That's a
call.
great name, by the way. That's gonna
Yeah,
look good on a poster, man.
right. I know. Yeah, all the power to her. She's great. So I was talking to her about anchors. For me, I have this thing, and I think I've heard it somewhere, but I don't know where I heard it. But it's anchors, and I usually find it in my costume.
Mhm.
But I can find it elsewhere in like a prop or things like that. But usually it comes down for me to like usually doing my lines or preparing my character or living a bit with a physical tick that I'm carrying around throughout a day or throughout, you know, part of the scene. And I go back to at different moments. And sometimes in different scenes, I have different anchors that I do. You can see this in a clip that I have online on my website for my acting demo where on Tribal, I was on the season finale of season 1, and I was just like, had a little minute long part, but my character,
You're the homeless guy.
yeah, my
With the phone.
character is playing with this like frilled out piece of jean that's like
Mhm.
worn away,
Yeah.
and that kind of let me drop into character in the sense that like, oh man, my clothes are wearing out, like I'm cold, like I don't have money to afford to fix this, like no one can take my stuff because this is all I have. Like it got me thinking, it dropped me physically and mentally into that emotional state by doing that, right? um I did a pilot a while ago with Julian Black Antelope, and my character had this big overcoat, and um, that was a part of me getting in, was like rubbing on that, like with my hand, and like flapping it around and like letting it settle on my body and stuff was part of me like dropping in because of what the character needed to do. So in different moments I use anchors like that. Music definitely helps. The first time I ever heard about that was Kathy Zaborski, who's an amazing actor, and she's taught me a ton. We've worked together and she's been a mentor of mine, so shout out to Kathy if you ever run into her. She's great. But when we went to Dublin in 2017, and we performed a play that I composed and acted in, and she was the lead in it, and it was called Montparnasse, about France in the 1920s. Cool play. And she had a playlist of songs that she would listen to like before, like while we were rehearsing and while she was moving through the blocking, like before we would do the show and whatnot. And that was the first time I ever saw that like professionally. And it was literally just after I graduated university. So it was cool to see that in action. And, you know, she's a powerhouse. It's outstanding what she can do. So she won an award, I think, for best female lead in a play at that festival in Dublin. And yeah, she was the first place I ever saw that. I have used it. I used to use Bigger Ross. I don't know if you know who that is.
I don't think so. Okay.
But it's this very tonal kind of atmospheric stuff. And I started using that when I started training in Meisner work with Jay Whitehead down here in Lethbridge, who's a professor at the university. And he owns Theatre Outre here in Lethbridge. And he's an amazing Meisner teacher. He's been one of the teachers who's gotten me past that waterfall that actors need to get over in order to perform at high levels. So until I was, he made me run around the room like 50 times when we were doing monologues in university, and like basically physically break me down and then perform my monologue for me to like get into the state that I needed to. And then I understood a lot in that moment. And he just has a way of communicating. But that Meisner workshop that we did, I think it was summer 2018, maybe, was a powerful learning curve for me as an actor too.
Okay. Yeah, I do have, I've got some questions on it. People think I'm not prepared, but I'm holding a pen, so I'm definitely prepared.
Yeah.
That just starts from the hair, and then it just gets less prepared as you get down. But But yeah. It's right.
It's not gonna be like a Folgers commercial, is it?
Like a what commercial?
A Folgers commercial where he gets up and then he's got no pants on.
That reminds me, man. I think it was a couple of weeks. It was a little while ago. I had to do a callback audition when it was like 30 degrees in my upstairs office over here, and I had to wear a suit and tie. And they're like, "When you walk in," and I'm like, "Why didn't I let you know how hot it is in this office?"
Yeah,
just wearing boxers. Like, what do you want? But anyway, so I didn't get past the callback. That was it. That's where it stopped. They're like, "You know what? You got down to 6. We're gonna move on to a guy who owns pants."
He was too hot.
So, exactly. So I was going to ask about some of this acting, coaching and stuff that you've had, because I know, as you said, you are also teaching, and you're helping, younger actors and whatnot, which is great. But when you're talking about touching things in the fabric, which reminded me that that's something Brando used to do, something James Dean used to do, just walk in and touch a table when he'd walk into a scene. But Brando really did it, man. Like, he super did it. Like, he'd just go, and then when you were talking about listening to music and whatnot, I do tend to listen to music, but mostly it's like if I have to be really sad for a scene, I'll listen to Johnny Cash's Hurt. That thing, I actually just don't listen to it. I avoid it because it'll get less effective the more you go to it. So I avoid it. And when I have to get real, or I have to cry, which is a little tough for me, but I have to cry, then I'll just listen to that thing.
Right.
But so the through line of that gets me to Johnny Depp. When Johnny Depp worked with Brando on, it was some romantic comedy thing. I forgot what it was called now, but Brando never used to learn his lines, so he'd have a earpiece in there and people would be feeding him his lines. Perfectly fine, whatever. But Johnny Depp was like, I love the idea of having something in there. So when he's doing the pirate films, he'd have little earbuds in there and he'd be listening to music and stuff. So he literally he was in his own, he wasn't getting lines fed. He knew his lines, but he was not paying full attention to the actors around him. He was just floating around doing his thing. So
that's how it kind of worked to make you seem a little bit like drunk and incoherent, and then belligerently yelling at people because you don't hear yourself.
Exactly. There's so many things that we have to do so many tricks, so many weird things that just help, just help get you that little,
Yeah.
over that little edge, that little thing.
Yeah. I
It's pretty impressive.
find story building for me to be the most effective. Like when I was doing the Meisner stuff, yeah, when you're doing Meisner, you have to kind of build a story and you have an activity and you enter the room and you run repetition exercises, or you run your lines while running repetition about emotions and stuff under the surface, right? And I found I was doing a short with Majid Kudmani, sorry. And he was directing this thing called Divine Intervention. We shot it at the Blackfoot Diner, which was an honor and really cool to shoot in there. But again, I played another homeless man, which I get cast as homeless guys, I guess. But this guy was down on his luck and met, another guy at a diner late at night. And I'm not going to give anything away, but I have an emotional scene in there. And in order to do that scene, I had to create a story for my character that was not even at all related to the script. There was no part of the script that said that I had these conditions about it. But in order to get there, I had to create this condition where my character had a daughter across the continent, like, in the East Coast or whatever. And I was so down on my luck that I'd never actually met them as like a person who would be able to say hi. Like they were just a little kid when I left them. Right. And so I created this pretty robust story, like created the color of their hair and like, I'd seen pictures and like all, I really built this world around this moment. And it's like 20 seconds in the script, but it was something that allowed me to push past that. Like I just believed the story. I created such a robust, imaginative environment, which is the whole thing about Meisner, is living truthfully under imaginary circumstances, right? So I created such a robust imaginary circumstance that I could fall into it in my character. And that's when we got it, that's when it landed. So there's a power for me in the storytelling aspect, I find. And oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, please.
I was just going to say, like, and you combine that with music and you combine that with repetition with your scene partner so that you're on the same page and you're connected. And for me, Meisner's been a really powerful tool to strengthen my approach to acting. So, yeah.
I've been watching a lot of videos and things. Well, actually, the last 3-4 years of his life, they just sort of put him on camera and kind of got, so you're getting stuff right from the horse's mouth. But I've been watching a lot of that stuff lately. It is very cool when something lands and like, like for myself, I think it's only happened about 4 times, which is not great. In the vast body of work in 10 or 12 years. But I can think of about 4 times where I was like, that was real. That is the most real thing any one person has said to another person right there. I hope someone sees it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't happen often for me, man. It's always, I think it was like, maybe it's Paul Newman or someone. He said like, you can give them up to 70% or 80%, but you never give them 100. Like of your own, of you, like they never see it, But again, that guy's 70% is our 160%. It's some other, number. But I think only a couple times has that ever happened where I was like, oh, right, I was naked for a second. Okay, that's what that feels like. Cool,
Yeah, it's tricky to really safe. It's tricky to get to that point. I had an experience. I got the opportunity to play Stanley in Streetcar in 2019. And it was a really, intimidating role to take on. And I remember we were talking about this in the pre-show, but like I would shake, convulse with complete nerves before I would walk on because of how intimate the setting was. Like we were in a 60-person theater. It was like theater in the round around this scene of, chaos. in, like, we were immersed, you know, we would go into rooms behind the audience and come out, and the audience was in the room. And very visceral play, and we went with it. We went hard on it. And that was one opportunity that I had with a director, which was Jay Whitehead, who understood the acting that we were all trying to do. We were in a comfortable space. A lot of the actors went to school together in the past. And so we went hard, and it was very visceral and very emotional. All throughout rehearsal, even, there was intense emotional moments. The first time we finished the play, like, we were all like, we all need a minute. So that opportunity gave me the sense of what it is to be like so real in a moment, with such intense content, and that feeling never left me. So, you know, a lot, again, my hat off to Jay Whitehead for the opportunity and for the teaching too. It was a big one, but it's hard to get there, because like on set, if you're, you know, there's so many conditions, there's so many people, there's like a lot of noise, and then it all quiets down when you're about to do your thing. And there's this energy that you have to be able to maintain, and this focus and control that you have to be able to maintain. That's not easy, right? Which sometimes why actors are in their trailer, or why they're, you know, doing push-ups on the side, or whatever it is so that they can stay there, so that they can keep it in. Right. So there's techniques for that. I find Meisner repetition. If I have another Meisner actor on set with me, or my scene partner, like, please, you know, we can get into it. We can start repeating. We can start, you know, getting into our anchors and stuff like that. And then it's like, go. That's where I'd like to be, like, all the time, is, you know, I love Meisner acting, but I understand, you know, the other facets of it. I love world building with, like, Stanislavski, like The Method, and like, which branched off into Strasberg, you know, and, you know, like all the other kind of contemporaries that evolved from that. Meisner being one of them, I guess.
Well, when you're talking about film to theater, I mean, you know, I can count on one hand how many times I got to rehearse for film.
Right.
You know, it's so difficult. And even just that 5 minutes before they're setting some little thing up, and you're like, hey, can we just do this a couple of times? It'll just, you know, center me or whatever. And it's so difficult. But any type of theater stuff, and I haven't really done a lot of theater. I do some of that, what do you call it, like dinner theater, or you know, I did Tony and Tina's Wedding for about 7 years. Super fun. You just need to know about 20%. The rest is off the top of your head. As long as you're in character, it's great. So you get used to audiences, but you're not doing the thing. But with any kind of theater thing, that's when you're learning. Like, that's when I feel like you are learning acting, is when you're doing that 2 months of rehearsals, and you're working with these fabulous people, and you're just stealing little thank you, and I might never use that, but, you know, put that away. And that's like pure learning acting for me, any theater stuff. But on film, it's just like, it's there, look there, don't look in there, great. Raise the voice, lower the voice, perfect. Yeah, I don't know. It is a little
bit positioning, but there's, you know, there's that harmony that comes with, like, directors that work with actors that become familiar, right? And that's why people start to continue making films together, is because they get a short hand with each other. You know, they're like, remember that time on that last set, like that. And then they don't have to explain like a 20-minute, like, I want to put the light here and blah, whatever it is, right? So that's why that starts to happen. And I've realized it too with, you know, work, like people that I work with, like Charlie Christensen's an amazing grip that I hope other people get to work with in Calgary and all over Alberta. And he's been, you know, like a huge steadfast work, like collaborator for me over the last like 5, 7, 8 years. So so it's good to have those people, but the acting, it's important to be able to get into that harmonic state and stay there, right? And yes, this is your eye line and stuff like that, but that has to be integrated into that realism and that belief, like, in your character.
I think it was Michael Shannon who, when they asked him, "What do you like better, stage or film?" and he goes, "Stage, always." No, why? And he goes, "Because no one runs up and touches your face." You know,
That's good.
throws him right off, man.
That's
Every
good.
take, yeah, come over and touch my face, Jesus.
Yeah.
Anyway, listen, man, I just look and we hit the 50
Whoa.
minute mark, which is a
That's
lot of minutes.
Yeah.
It's a
That didn't
lot of
feel like-
minutes.
I thought we were at like
It did-
25 right now, honestly.
Which, yeah, but you were nervous at the start and you kind of got relaxed. You know, I'm steering this ship. My producer's, I don't know, he's off drinking probably. You know, he's a Scotsman, so I don't know. And you know, I've realized I think there's a giant magpie. I'm on the top floor of this house. Let's call it a house, and in my office, and I think that's what it is. There's a magpie just like 8 feet that way. I don't know, inspecting our roof.
Okay.
That's what
Well,
I'm
they're creative birds, so you never know what you're going to find up there. Maybe there's a jewelry.
Well, it's that'll be my retirement roof.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm not. You know what? We didn't. Let's talk about that single for a minute, and then
Sure.
I think. So what is it? Shake the Fear? I can't read my handwriting.
Yeah, Shake the Fear. So
Sweet.
I don't get the opportunity to release singles as often as I would like, just because of how busy I am lately. I hope to rectify that, over the next couple of years with growing my studio and that kind of thing. So, but right now it's usually about one a year. I'm trying to push for another one before the end of the year here. I have many written and some in production, but they're not finished yet. But this one, Shake the Fear, is it's about confronting that nascent apathy and that nascent fear that holds us back from pursuing the things that we love to do. And
not just in the art world, like just throughout, like not just the art world. It's like pursuing that girl, whatever.
The girl, like that, that talk with your family, like whatever.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
The thing that scares you. However to challenge that. That's what the song's about. So I had an amazing collaborator, Danica Summer on the song as a vocalist. She's an incredible singer, beautiful voice. And it's a kind of new song for me in terms of tone and delivery. It goes into like a little bit more modern beat construction, and then has some kind of gospel blues inspiration from artists like Bishop Briggs or Jonathan Hua. Patrick Hua's son, if you guys didn't know, is an amazing musician. And so it's a song that, I'd like, if people, it's like a good wake up song. Let's put it that way. It's one of those songs where you could imagine like Tom Hardy waking up and realizing that he has to do the thing today. And then he goes and like does the thing and then, conquers the demon or whatever it is. So it's got that kind of rise and challenge and conquer kind of vibe to it. And, I produced it, I mastered it, I performed all of the music on it, and there's quite a few different, instrumental layers and stuff in there. So you can find it on Spotify. You can find links on my website, nickbohle.com, and blow it up. I'm going to make a music video soon, but I'm just not ready yet. I have other things on my plate. So
very cool, man. I'm looking at the side of the computer, which you can't see. It's got all the buttons and all the cool stuff. And I was seeing if I had some artwork to whip across the screen. I don't. So one more time, that website is
nickbohle.com, nickbohle.com.
nickbohle.com. Sweet.
Yeah.
Well, Mr. Nick Bohle, I really appreciate all the time you took to talk to us, man, and laid down some, if not beats, some knowledge, because I know you're a super busy dude. And this was great, man. Great. I didn't write notes of things I have to look up now that you talked about, but I'll just screen through this. I'll just whip through this again later, and I'll be like, oh right, I gotta look up that guy. Sure. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Yeah. Okay. And that's where the kids can find you on the socials. What about that?
Yeah.
Just right
So
through the website.
again, I mean, if you go to my website, you'll find links to my socials down at the bottom of pretty much all the screens. But you can just find me Nick_Bohle on Instagram, and my link tree is up there in the bio. And there's a bunch of projects and a ton of commercials that I've produced and other things that will constantly be added to over the next while. So
Sweet. Well, I'm going to say thank you again. Just stick around after this. Generally, Gary's around and he, debriefs the guest and asks them if they're mad at me in some way. That's usually how he starts.
Okay.
Then there's a gift basket if I went really off. Just make a note. So chillax. And you can also tell me what a link tree is later. So anyway. All right, guys. Well, Nick, thanks again. Now I'm going to look directly into the camera and do that thing that I dislike more than the intros, the outros. Okay. So thanks again, Nick.
All thanks, right. Man. Appreciate you.
Yeah.
See you guys.
See ya. Okay, world. Hey, thank you so much for watching this week's Talent Talk. Next week, I believe our guest is Eli Jackson. And if that's wrong, I won't be here. Figure it out with Gary. So once again, I'd like to thank Nick for taking time and bringing one of his finest hats to the party.
Thank you.
And we'll see you next. Nick, don't interrupt me. This is my outro. All right, guys, take care. Thanks again. Ciao.